Good morning, everyone. I'm Marla Koupal, and I'm here today with Paul Jordan. And we're going to ask Paul some great questions about what it is that he does that helps all of you be successful in your business. So, Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Marla. It's really nice of you to invite me along today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I would love to know more about your background, what it is you do, but Paul does webinars, and he's going to explain that later. But tell us about your background, how you got started and what you're doing that
Yeah,
excites you.
sure. I'll try and keep it as brief as I can. So my background, academically, I studied electrical and electronic engineering, and then I went into software development. So I was a software engineer for the early part of my career, coding, all that kind of thing. Then I moved into project management and senior project management. I've always been quite technical. I've always kind of liked to be a little bit hands-on. I like to understand all the new stuff that's going on in the world. Several years ago, I was a project manager for a big company that went bust, which amazed me because they had a huge order book. So I decided to set up on my own, and I'd been looking at internet marketing for a long time, and I realized that I had a huge amount of transferable skills because a lot of what we do in the online world is quite technical. We have to set up videos, we have to set up web pages, we have to set up email systems. So all the skills that I had from a project manager and a coder were put to very good use in an online marketing agency. So I started that about 4 years ago, and then I got into webinars. I think it was last year. I had a number of clients that I was working with, and they were a kind of a variety of different people, and they'd been told by their own business coaches and just through their own knowledge, they knew that webinars were a good thing to do, and they wanted to run webinars. But they found out that when they came to create a webinar, they thought, my goodness, how do I start? What platform do I use? And how do I do an email? They're not technical people, and they get very overwhelmed with trying to put the whole thing together, the slides, so I recognized this demand was coming up time and again, and I thought, there's a need here. So hence I created the webinar mastery program, which is what I'm now focusing on.
Great. Webinar mastery.
Yeah.
That does sounds exciting.
Hope so.
So now we know what prompted you to create that. So who is typically doing webinars? Break down maybe some of the people that have done webinars with you. The fields they're in. Is it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, reflecting back on the experience from last year, there was a real mix of. Let me have a think now. So there was a relationship counselor who worked with people in marriages or just in relationships to try and help the relationships work out. There was a weight loss coach. There was a lifestyle coach, and he was a great guy. He was into kind of fitness, health, habits, that kind of thing. A business performance coach, but she was kind of a hypnotherapist. So she used hypnotherapy for performance coaching and so forth. And who else was there? So weight loss coach, hypnotherapist, relationship performance.
So in other words, it does what you're doing doesn't have a one size fits all. It's like you're there. Your webinar system is a one size fits all, but all types of people wanting to educate, create courses, talk to their audience. You're a perfect fit, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it's very true because, as you say, I mean, webinars are used in a whole variety of businesses. And if you look at the structure and the mechanics, and by the mechanics, I'm probably looking at the technical side, like, you have a landing page, a registration page, which is the same thing. You have all your images and videos, you have an email sequence. So the nuts and bolts, the tech is the same for everybody, but it's the structure and content, the copywriting, the images, which are very kind of specific to the nature of the business. So, and copywriting, of course, is very, very powerful across all different businesses, but also the structure of the presentation itself, because when people put a slide deck together, a lot of people are very capable of doing that and putting their own subject matter to teach people about what they do or giving some value. But what they need to be taught is there's a gentle blend of sounds technique as well as subject matter content that needs to be crafted together in order to get a webinar that people convert at the end. They get a call booked, or they make a sale of a course or a collection of therapy sessions. So it's a real subtle blend of subject matter and some selling techniques, which I also help to teach people.
Yeah, so it makes sense. It's like people just don't want an information dump. They want to know how to apply it, and then you give them the opportunity to apply it. But I'm my brain went off on a tangent like it always does, but I'm thinking about those slides, about how there's a joke in the industry, how you either do your slides like Bill Gates from Microsoft or like Robert Kiyosaki, who puts only 2 or 3 words on a slide with an image. And so do you do a lot of coaching around everybody that I've worked with without a lot of training? I've seen them put too many words on a slide.
Oh yeah,
Do you do a lot of coaching around that for people?
definitely. I mean, there's so many special techniques for slides, and you're exactly right. Not having too many words. There's a concept in psychology called pattern interrupts. And back in my corporate life many years ago as a project manager, we had a corporate template. So we would prepare our slides. We had we working in the private sector, but our clients were government customers. And we had a set of slides with a nice header and a nice footer and a company logo. And every slide looked the same, very smart, but the content was changing, very appropriate for a corporate audience, but also quite dull. And I realized that in the world of marketing, if people get the same slide, some slide keeps coming up, and only the content's changed, they start to switch off, they start to zone out. But with a pattern interrupt, the idea is that the person watching your presentation, they can't predict what's coming next based on the slides they've just seen. So it might be like, bang, a red slide or a yellow slide and a green slide. So every slide is re-engaging their attention rather than kind of the same slide with different content on it, because that just gets boring and people fall asleep. So it's pattern interrupts, really powerful, helps to get the content across, keeps people's attention, keeps it interesting, and keeps it entertaining. Very important.
I like that. Thank you. I've heard that term, never had an example of how it was used. But immediately I thought of how many people are using Canva nowadays to put things together, and they go and they want the whole pretty background. And it's like, no, I would love to have different colors. I mean, I wear different colors every day. Why not put different colors up on my slide?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So I have a new trick I'm going to try.
Good.
So how do people know whether it's time for a webinar, or what are the challenges that people are running into? Like, should I do a webinar, or are they even thinking about webinars and they just don't know how to do it? What's the field that people are in when they're ready for a webinar, or they're just getting ready to wonder if they're a webinar? What does your customer base look like?
I have to be honest, I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Good. Because I don't think I understood it either. Who is it that's typically finding you, and where are people finding you? And what do they say to you when they say, I think it's time for a webinar? Or how do they recognize it's time for a webinar?
Yeah, I suppose I'm trying to sort of reflect back on the clients I've worked with and see if there's a common theme there. I think the general theme is that from various places they've seen webinars themselves, they've attended webinars, and they've done their own research, or they've got their own coach that tells them they're a good thing to do. So they've recognized that they want to do them because they can see the benefit, they can see that they can get sales, and they've done their research. And some people, there's one lady, I think she'd attempted 3 or 4 times to actually put a webinar together. And she said every time she tried to do one, she got stuck at a different point. She got stuck with trying to set up a landing page, or she got stuck with an email sequence, or she just got, and then she'd have quite a few months gap in between. So she kept getting stuck with the technology, basically. So that was the common theme. And I find that a lot of the people that I've dealt with, like the clients, coaches, therapists, and so forth, they're amazing at what they do. They've got incredible people skills, and they're really passionate about helping people. But when it comes to sort of the tech, they just really struggle. But with a bit of hand holding, it's like anything, with a bit of hand holding, I've taught some of these people to independently create their own webinars. But part of the service that we offer is that we can do done for you, done with you, or done by you. So some people become completely self-sufficient and they learn everything and they go and do it themselves. Some people want everything done by us and we just hold their hand on the day. And then there's people in between. They say, well, I know how to do the slides and I know how to do my copywriting, but I don't know how to set up the email system. Can you do that? So they'll give us all the words. So it's a bit of a mix sometimes. So yeah, that's kind of, I think that's just generally it. People, great enthusiasm to run a webinar. They can see the benefits. They know that they can get a lot more business, a lot more leads, but just get frustrated at not really knowing where to get started. That's the common theme. Just the overwhelm. Technical overwhelm is a common sentence.
I get that. I like the example you gave of because that's kind of like how I've learned and learned when to go get help. Is I say, well, I can do that, and I start a landing page, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, is it connected to an email? And oh, wait a minute, is it this? And so you can't see the layers of the process, and you get stopped at every one, and that does drive professionals, anybody, a little bit nuts.
Yeah,
because they want to learn, but they don't have the time, and so there is a point at which, do you spend your own time or do you go invest in a professional? And you're the professional, you know the pitfalls. It's perfect for.
Yeah, I think, and I have to. I think the other, as you're talking to me, the other thing that I've recognised, of course, is that again, I'm reflecting back on one of the ladies that I think she went onto Fiverr to get some logos created, but people go onto these outsourcing sites and they say, okay, well, they can get the website built and then they can get the email sequence built, but there's a lot of different, what you might call standalone components. So people think, okay, so I've got to get my email done. Okay, I'll get an email system, and then I've got to get a web page. Okay, so someone's done that, but how do they work together? Who's going to make them? Who's going to glue them together and make them work together? And who's going to do this bit? So they get the different components done. It's like, having different parts of your car put in your front yard, and then you've got to assemble them, because the actual assembling of putting all that together is also a fair bit of work. And they've got these things done independently, but then they don't know what to do with it. So I've got this email sequence, but I don't know how to make it work on my website, or I've got a website and I don't know how to upload a lead magnet. And it's just bringing all the components together so it works in harmony. It's a project. And I think that's one of the challenges of a webinar funnel, is all those different parts.
Yeah, it's like me. I know how to sew, but if I get to a problem when I'm trying to put something together, I might quit. And if we're in business trying to do webinars, we can't afford to quit. We need you, Paul.
Yeah, I hope so.
So who outside of who you've already helped should also be looking at using webinars, and why?
Well, I think it's a wide variety of businesses for sure. I think people that are selling products also use webinars, but probably higher ticket items. So I've seen webinars myself where people are promoting solar panel installations, house refurbishments, funerals. I've seen some really interesting things done on webinars, but people are selling funeral plans. So a real diverse sense of products and services. And I was even recommended yesterday by another lady that I was talking to, and she thinks there's a big market for accountants to get out there, because I think that there are a lot of staid businesses who are looking for clients, and with solopreneurs, the face is the brand. It's not like you're buying something off a big corporation anonymously. Very often the person that is on the webinar is going to be the person that's delivering the service to you. So It's a great way to get your face in front of a lot of people to answer their questions. And in the world of the internet, we have this know, like, and trust. People have got to get to know us. They've got to get to like us. They've got to get to trust us. And what better way of doing that than getting your face in front of a big audience so they can ask you questions, they can see your style of presentation. They can either walk away because they don't like you, which is fine, or they grow to like you and they grow to trust you. So yeah, I would say service businesses, it works very well. Product sales, probably not low ticket items, because they just wouldn't be cost effective, such as a small product, $20 or something. But a high ticket item, such as a coaching course, a training course, something like that, $1,000 and above. They usually work really well. But webinars are used at a huge variety of industries, not always just selling, sometimes just for education. Employers can use them for onboarding, whole variety of stuff.
Right. So small businesses also that just don't really have a big HR or a training department can definitely just spend some time getting some webinars made and go at that. And I love your accountant example, because my husband is an accountant and he's always getting his continuing education credits here in the US. And there are a lot of accountants using webinars, and some of them it's like they need some help.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But so that's cool. Anything that would be absolutely wonderful that you shared with the people out there that we've not talked about? Is there some big secret, glowing golden ball of wisdom about webinars that you'd like to share?
I think they certainly work. They're very popular and they can be very, very lucrative when they're done properly. That's why there are so many webinar providers out there. But I suppose the other thing is that, and this applies to marketing online generally, is that the first webinar isn't going to earn any money. The first webinar is going to be scrappy. It's not going to run smoothly. People are going to make mistakes. They need to be rehearsed, they need to be practiced, and they need to be optimized. So running them many, many times is going to be needed before they're successful. And by successful, I mean, if they're looking to sell from a webinar, it could take many attempts for a few months, and I recommend people run them weekly. It's going to take some work to get there, but it's worth it because you will get there, but they don't work straight away. So it's setting expectations realistically, I think.
Well, it's like a play where you have to have practice, you have to have rehearsals.
Yep.
Nobody ever says that. I mean, I like the extemporaneous where I have people in front of me and I'm working with what their current situation is, but a webinar can't do that. And I get that. So I think that is a good message to share with everyone, because it's important that people quit having these perfect expectations of themselves. And remember, everything takes practice.
Absolutely. It's I think in the online world, there's so much social posting that kind of suggests that people can get instant success, instant gratification. And it's not like that, as we know. It takes dedication, it takes work, it takes hard work, and a lot of it, but the rewards are very worthwhile.
Yes.
So I think if people have their expectations kept in check, and they don't come in on day one, think, right, I'm going to make all this money next week. They'll make all the money, but it might take 6 months or a year, and they have to keep tweaking and optimizing. And that's true of a lot of business in life, isn't it? But I think it's having those expectations, and like everything, every time you do something, you get fractionally better. And I say to people, run your webinar every week. And if you improve it by 1% every week, then by the end of the year, you'll be 50% better than you were. So that's a massive increase. And just keep going.
It is. It is. Oh, that's good wisdom. So tell me, what's your biggest joy in doing what you do?
Yeah, I have to say, like we were discussing, it's helping people. It's very fulfilling. It's very gratifying when people give you some feedback on the work that you've done for them. It gives you a good feeling inside. You've done something very worthwhile. Obviously, we're all here to make a living and earn money, but that's not the fulfillment, as you were saying. The gratification comes in people that have been genuinely thankful for your help. It gives great pleasure to see people succeed, and when you've contributed to their success, it's a good thing. Yeah.
Right. So really, I'm thinking of the people that I get to share this with. I have some people already in mind that are trying to do some big month-long coaching things. And so I can see where webinars would fit for them. And I'm looking forward to being able to introduce you to them.
Fantastic.
So, yes.
Thank you.
And yes, and for anyone who wants to start getting going on webinars, I know many of you are looking at doing courses. But if you're really wanting to get those into that repeat and sell, opportunity, then Paul has some answers for you. And I highly recommend that you connect.
That's very kind. Thank you very much, Marla.
Yeah. And thank you, Paul. Do you have any parting words for us today?
I just wish everybody success in their business.
And how do they get a hold of you? I left out the most important part.
Oh,
How do
sure.
we
Yeah.
get a hold of you?
So I'm on most social media channels, but predominantly Facebook. So if you look for my webinar mastery program, you'll find me on Facebook. We'll provide some details for the description below the video here. I'll put a link. I've got a booking link for a calendar, so we'll put that in there. But yeah, Facebook, they can send me a message on Facebook, put a comment on my timeline. And I'd be very happy to have a call with anybody to give some no obligation free advice, because I like to help if I can.
Thank you. All right. This was great. Have a great day.
Thank you, Marla. I really appreciate it. Been a pleasure.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.